made a few notes because I can't blow this. I'm going to get one shot at this one. First, I want to congratulate all of the other Hall of Famers here this afternoon. I guess out of the group that's here, I'm probably the least worthy of this award. But you know, this has been such an emotional venture for me. This was never a part of the equation of achievements in boxing or even in life. Never thought anything about ever being a part of the Boxing Hall of Fame. But I want to start out by thanking a couple of people. I want to thank, first off, Mr. Ed Brophy and the committee, Hall of Fame committee, all of the sports writers who are responsible for this award, for me, this honor, me and my family. I want to thank you. I want to thank my wife, Patricia, and my children who were actually born into the sport of boxing. I want to thank Patricia for explaining to my young children why I was away from the home so much during the years when they were growing up. And I was trying to make a name for myself as a boxing official while I was going to school at night, trying to earn a degree. I want to thank a very dear friend of mine, Mr. Joe Cortez, who's here. Professional boxing's #1 referee. It was Joe Cortez who was my staunchest critic during the early years of our growth and development, coming along, trying to make a name for ourselves as young boxing referees in the 1970s. I also want to thank God most of all, because we're all in a race against time. Tomorrow is not promised to any of us. And there are so many people in the world of boxing who are worthy of this recognition. And for me to be standing here today in front of many of them, it's by the grace of God, because tomorrow is not promised. Thank God that this is not a posthumous award for me. The road to Canastota began for me in 1957, when I was a youngster growing up in the inner cities of New Jersey. And at a young age, my father passed away, but I had the benefit of a very large extended family. And one night, my uncle sat me down in front of the television, and we watched the Gillette Cavalcade of Sports. And on that night, I saw a man named Sugar Ray Robinson, and I was mesmerized. My life was never the same after that. I couldn't wait to get to the gym. And I started training as an amateur fighter, and I had a decent career as an amateur, but early on in my career, I realized that I wasn't going to be a world champion. I wasn't going to be a professional. So I became an amateur referee, and in 1967, I started refereeing the Golden Gloves, and through the years, I did well, and I performed throughout the tri-state area, New Jersey, New York, Philadelphia. And then in 1978, at the advent of casino gambling in New Jersey, I became a professional referee. 1978. career, Howard Cosell did something for me also. I got my first opportunity to referee a major event on national television between Matthew Saad Muhammad and a fighter named Jerry the Bull Martin. And I'll never forget that Matthew Saad Muhammad was being vintage Saad, taking a beating. And then all of a sudden he started to open up on his opponent. And he started attacking Jerry the Bull Martin, and Martin got in trouble, and I stepped in and stopped the fight. And vintage Howard Cosell. Larry Hazzard is going to have to explain this. Stop the fight. He's going to have to explain this. And he was very fair, and he gave me the opportunity to explain why I had stopped that fight. And because of the way that I was able to explain that the referee's primary responsibility is protecting the health and safety of the fight. And Howard said, well, there you have it. He explained it, and that's where it's at. And that's the fight that brought me to prominence as a referee. And throughout my career as a referee, I felt that the referee's primary responsibility was protecting the health and safety of fighters. And I got a very unique opportunity a short time, a few years later. I was appointed the commissioner of boxing for the state of New Jersey. And I was able to then implement a lot of safety procedures that, in my opinion, went a long way to prolong the careers of many boxers. And over the years, I've had my critics, and I've never ever tried to upstage a referee. But when I felt that a fight should be stopped, if it was necessary, I would get in the ring and stop it myself. And to this day, I am often reminded of a fight that took place in Atlantic City with Arturo Gatti, where I felt that fight should have been stopped, and I stopped. And I'm thankful that the actions that I took possibly saved Arturo Gatti's life that night. I've been very, very fortunate to have served a long, prestigious career as the boxing commissioner in the state of New Jersey. I feel that boxing is the greatest sport in the world, and that for young men, especially those growing up in the inner cities of America, it teaches discipline, it teaches hard work, it teaches a sense of respect, dignity for oneself, and we all have to support our sport. Boxing is experiencing some hard times these days. We're still looking for that American heavyweight. And he's out there somewhere, probably on a football or basketball court. But we'll discover it. We were going to get that American heavyweight very soon. And I want to thank everyone who's here supporting this Boxing Hall of Fame here in Canastota. This is a fantastic thing that Mr. Ed Brophy has created. And this great sport of boxing certainly deserves it. And I want to thank all of you who've been here during this week supporting the efforts of Mr. Brophy and this committee. And I want to thank all of you who have supported me throughout my career. This is an honor that I'll never forget. And this ring is going to go on this finger, and it's never coming off.